Hello and welcome to Every Persona Explained, where we take a look at the origin and representation of every persona. I'm your host Winwright, and today we're taking a look at unicorn. Unicorns are fantasy creatures usually depicted as horses with a single spiral horn on their forehead. But you already knew that. Unicorns are a fantasy staple that you more than likely already knew about. They appear in Harry Potter, Through the Looking Glass, Pokemon, and like every young girl's fantasy media. But you may be surprised how far back the history of the unicorn goes. Side note, we're not going to be discussing the Kirin, also known as the Eastern unicorn. They are not the same thing. Unicorns were popular in the art and heraldry of medieval Europe and the Renaissance, where it held various meanings from purity to passion to independence. It was believed to have a wild nature, but could be tamed by a pure maiden. During this time, it also gained connections to Christianity due to its connections to purity and virgin women as a representation of Jesus. It's also the national animal of Scotland. This is because the national animal of England is the lion, and the unicorn is supposedly the natural enemy of the lion somehow. I wasn't able to find out why these two were enemies. All I found was something talking about how they're complements or counterparts. This is reflected on the Royal Coat of Arms of the United Kingdom, showing a lion alongside a chained unicorn. However, on the Scottish version, the animals are flipped, and on the bottom is a Latin phrase meaning, "No one provokes me with impunity." Never change, Scotland. It's also during this time that the use of an alicorn became popular in Europe for medical purposes. No, not like that. Alicorn is the name of the unicorn's horn. It was believed that it could protect from poisons and purify water. This led to an industry of selling fake horns, sometimes just narwhal horns, to the wealthy. In addition to this, Hildegard von Bingen, an 11th century abbess, polymath, and absolute champion, wrote in her Physica, a collection of books that lists the medical attributes of plants, animals, minerals, etc., that a unicorn's liver pounded into a powder and mixed with an egg yolk could cure leprosy. Also, that making clothing out of its skin would protect from disease. There's also mentions of unicorns in the Christian Bible, sort of. From what I've found, instances of unicorns in the Bible seem to be mistranslations. While a few translations use unicorn like the King James Version, the majority use wild ox or wild bull. This makes sense as in the Old Testament or Torah, the word that's used is re'em, which is an ox or a bull. Funnily enough, one translation uses rhinoceros instead, and that's my favorite one. If this is a mistranslation, then how did it happen? Well, let's go back to ancient Greece, and a man named Ctesias. Ctesias was a Greek physician who ended up working in the Persian court in the late 5th and early 4th centuries BC, where he collected stories from travelers from the East and compiled them into his work, Indica, which has been lost but was super popular in its time, and it was quoted by many other authors like Aristotle, Pliny the Elder, and Elion. The Indica is the earliest source we have for the unicorn, which Ctesias calls a wild ass, with a white coat, dark red hair, blue eyes, and a horn a cubit in length. A cubit is the length of the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, so not the most stable measurement. In his natural history, Pliny the Elder describes a creature he calls a monoceros, which, like unicorn, just means single horn. But I think his description matches a rhinoceros better than a horse. So that's it then? The unicorn is just the Greeks misunderstanding a story from travelers? Well, maybe not entirely. During the Bronze Age, there was a civilization in the Indus Valley called the Indus Valley Civilization. Also known as the Harappan Civilization, archaeological excavations have unearthed a number of artifacts like this one. Dubbed unicorn seals, no, not like that. These were used to stamp objects in order to help identify them in some way. Possibly for trade, possibly for ownership. That's a bull. It's just shown in profile. Does this mean that unicorns are actually cows? I don't think so. I haven't found anything directly connecting Ctesias and these seals, other than both being from quote-unquote India, which in ancient Greece was more like a vague idea than a concrete place. And that's unicorn, the single-horned horse from India, I guess. So how's it represented in game? I'd say it's damn near perfect. It's a white horse with a single horn. The design is simple, and the designers did a good job reflecting it. Not only that, but the face it's making reflects its wild nature. It doesn't have red hair or blue eyes, but I think it's still fine, as those traits aren't as common in modern depictions. Unicorn is in the Priestess Arcana and the P3s, Faith and Royal, and Hierophant into everything else. Priestess is fine. It has less of a religious connection than you might expect, considering It's called the priestess. It has meanings like spirituality and higher power, which are a good match for the unicorn's religious connections, but it also has meanings of fertility and desirability, which match up with the modern feminine associations the unicorn has. Faith also connects to its religious associations well enough. Hierophant is an interesting choice. Upright, it can mean tradition, conformity, and marriage. These go against the traditional representation of freedom the unicorn has. Of course, when inverted, Hierophant can mean rebellion, nonconformity, and freedom, which fit much better. Its movesets also do a decent job. In 3, 4, 5, and Q2, it gets some form of light or bless damage, representing the purity and holy associations. In every game it appears in, it has some sort of recovery move, either HP or status, including Q1, which gives it null poison. These all lean into the beliefs of the medical properties of the creature. Funnily enough, pre-reload P3 gives it Poisma, which is the opposite of what it should be, and Q1 and 5 give it a few physical moves which reflect the fact that it's got a horn and it's not just for show. Its trait is Blessed Bloodline, which is fine, but I feel something like Rare Antibody or Immunity would have fit better. In the pre-reload 3s, its heart item was a piece of equipment called the alicorn, which protects the wearer from poison. Spot on. Reload switches the heart item to a Soul Seed Driblet, but that can be used to make the alicorn, so I'm still counting it. In P5, it yields a skill card for the healing move Samarikarm, which isn't as good, but it still works. In Royal, it gives either the card for Mahama or Hamaun, which are also fine. However, negotiations with a Shadow Unicorn, called an Expressionless Beast, may give you a Sooty Horn or Physical Ointment. I think these are stronger connections than the light moves. Overall, I'd say it's pretty good. It manages to hit all of the expected traits of a unicorn while also fitting in some of the less popular aspects. Well done. I had always been of the persuasion that unicorns were originally inspired by rhinos, and just us in Europe didn't have rhinos, so we got confused, and that was how the unicorn happened. So that might still be accurate, considering where the stories came from. Their connection to the Indus Valley civilization caught me by surprise. I had no idea about that, which, I mean, I'm not exactly an Indus Valley civilization scholar, so it's not, I guess, not too surprising. But that was fun to learn about. I was curious, what percentage of people had the combination of red hair and blue eyes? And all of the figures that I found said that around 0.17% of all people have those traits together. That's tiny. That's less than 1/4%. That is insanely low. So, if you have natural red hair and natural blue eyes, congratulations, you are a unicorn. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Let me know who you want to see next in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Every Persona Explained.